The wife put me on speaker and said, "It's over," to make her friends laugh. I just replied, "Okay, I understand," and hung up. The next morning, her mother called her, screaming hysterically, "The house. Dear God, what did you just let him do to the house?" I was reviewing invoices at 9:47 p.m. When the phone lit up. My wife, Vanessa, I answered out of habit. Still half focused on a spreadsheet tracking our quarterly expenses numbers she never once asked about because, as she told me multiple times, finances are just so boring, Mark. The irony wasn't lost on me. Those boring finances paid for her weekly manicures at that upscale salon downtown, the one that charged $60 just to file her nails. They paid for her ever-expanding collection of streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, and that niche documentary platform she watched exactly twice. They covered her weekend flights to Palm Springs when she needed to decompress with friends, staying at boutique hotels that cost more per night than most people's monthly car payments. But the moment I heard laughter in the background, cheap wine being poured, the clink of glasses touching, and that hollow echo that only comes from restaurant acoustics, I knew something was off. My finger hovered over the spreadsheet, the cursor blinking on a cell ID been about to update. Then her voice came through loud, exaggerated. "Mark, it's over. Don't text, don't call, just move on, okay?" Her friends howled. Someone, I think it was her friend Gabriel, the one who sold leggings through social media, yelled loud enough for me to hear clearly, "Oh my God, he actually picked up." Another voice, slurred and delighted, cried, "This is iconic." I could picture the scene perfectly. Vanessa at the head of the table, her phone held up like a trophy, her face flushed from her third glass of rose. Her friends were leaning in, hands covering their mouths, eyes wide with the kind of anticipation you see at a reality TV finale. This was entertainment. I was entertainment. I stared at my computer screen for exactly 3 seconds. The numbers blurred slightly. My jaw tightened, then relaxed. Then I said very calmly, "Okay, I understand," and hung up. 13 seconds total. That's how long it took her to end a 7-year marriage. Or at least, that's how long she thought it took. I set my phone face down on the desk. The office was quiet except for the hum of my laptop and the distant sound of our neighbor's dog barking. I took a breath, slow and measured, then reached for my mouse. No yelling, no questions, no begging or demanding explanation, just silence. Then I opened a folder on my desktop labeled Exit V. 11 months of quiet preparation sat inside, spreadsheets, scanned documents, legal forms with stamps and signatures, authorization letters, account statements, property deeds, and a meticulously organized timeline that read like a disaster preparedness manual because that's exactly what it was. You see, I learned early in our relationship that Vanessa loved chaos and hated paperwork. The chaos fed her. It gave her stories to tell, drama to post about, and reasons to call her mother and sigh heavily about how complicated everything was. But paperwork? Documentation? Responsibility? Those things bored her to tears. So while she collected Instagram followers and filmed self-care haul videos, where she unwrapped packages she'd bought with our joint credit, which wasn't actually joint, but I'll get to that, I collected signatures, notarizations, and digital authorizations. Every document had a date. Every account had a clause. Every asset, the house on Willow Lane with its white columns and professional landscaping, the BMW she drove like it was hers. Even her joint business credit card she used for brand collaboration was in my name legally, irrevocably, and documented in triplicate. Her prank wasn't an insult. It was an opportunity. It was the trigger I'd been waiting for, the unmistakable signal that she'd crossed from careless into cruel, and that I no longer owed her the courtesy of a warning. The thing about Vanessa was that she'd always been performative. Even in the beginning, when we first started dating, there was this theatrical quality to everything she did. Our first date had been at a rooftop bar downtown, and she'd spent half the evening positioning her drink for the perfect photo, adjusting the angle 3, 4, 5 times until the sunset hit the glass just right. I'd found it charming back then, endearing, even. She was vibrant and alive in a way I wasn't, and I thought maybe her light would balance out my darkness. What I didn't realize was that everything with Vanessa was a transaction. Every moment had to have an audience. Every experience had to be documented and validated by strangers online. When she told me she loved me for the first time, 6 months into our relationship on a beach in Santa Monica, Shed made me wait while she set up her phone on a timer to capture the moment. The "I love you" wasn't just for me. It was content. I should have seen the warning signs, but I was lonely and she was beautiful. I convinced myself that her need for validation was harmless, just a generational thing, I told myself. Everyone her age lives on their phones. But it wasn't harmless. It was corrosive. Because when everything is content, nothing is sacred. Our engagement wasn't a private moment between two people. It was a 3-minute Instagram story with romantic music and strategic camera angles. Our wedding wasn't a celebration of commitment. It was a branded event with a custom hashtag and a photographer who cost more than my first car. And our marriage? Our marriage was a 7-year performance where I played the supporting role to her main character. I was too busy keeping the show running to realize I'd never actually been her partner. I'd been her producer. At 10:05 p.m. I logged into our banking portal and revoked her card access with 3 clicks. Her business card, the one she used for essential expenses like designer, coffee, and influencer conferences, was linked to an account I controlled. Gone. Declined. Effective immediately. At 10:20 p.m. I paused every shared subscription Shed ever claimed was for work. Netflix? Gone. Canva Pro, where she designed her social media graphics? Suspended. Her monthly beauty box subscription, the one that cost $47 and arrived like clockwork, even though she never opened half the products, was canceled. Even her meditation app, which Shed used 3 times in 6 months, was cut off. I went through the list methodically. The meal delivery service Shed signed up for and forgotten about was canceled. The premium Spotify account she needed for content creation was downgraded to free. The cloud storage where she kept thousands of photos of herself had its access revoked. The wine club membership that sent her 2 bottles every month was terminated. Each click felt like removing a thread from a tapestry. And with each thread removed, the picture became clearer. She'd been living a life that was never actually hers. It was borrowed, rented, built on my credit, and sustained by my silence. At 10:33 p.m. I called the locksmith I'd vetted 2 months earlier. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Sharp, I said. I'll text you the address. He didn't ask questions. I'd already prepaid. We'd discussed the job in detail weeks ago. New deadbolts, a new garage code, and a new smart lock system. Everything would be changed, and only I would have the new access codes. Then I made teach him a mile. From the loose-leaf tin Vanessa bought once, used twice, and forgot about. I poured it into a plain ceramic mug, sat back down at my desk, and reviewed the next phase of my plan. No shaking hands, no angry playlist, no throwing things or punching walls, or any of the dramatic reactions she would have posted about if the roles were reversed. Just methodical, surgical silence. Vanessa thought control meant volume. She thought power came from who could yell loudest, who could cry hardest, who could gather the most witnesses to their pain. She never understood that true control sounds like nothing at all. It's the quiet click of a door locking, the soft buzz of an email being sent, the calm, steady rhythm of someone who's been prepared for months and is now simply executing a plan. I opened my email and reviewed the draft messages I'd prepared. One to the property management company for the downtown apartment, terminating her access effective immediately. One to the car dealership, informing them I'd be returning the leased BMW at the end of the month. One to my insurance broker, removing Vanessa as a beneficiary and dependent. I'd written these emails months ago, saving them as drafts and updating them periodically as circumstances changed. All they needed now was a send date. I scheduled them all for 6 a.m. The next morning, early enough that they'd be processed before Vanessa woke up, yet late enough that I'd be long gone before anyone tried to reach me. The next step was my lawyer. I'd already briefed Daniel Chen on the possibility of this. We'd had several conversations over the past year, always framed as hypothetical. If a marriage were to end, I'd say, what would the process look like? Daniel was good at his job. He never asked unnecessary questions, just provided clear, actionable information. Now I sent him a single text, green light. Proceed with phase 2. His response came back within minutes, understood. Paperwork will be ready by 11 a.m. Tomorrow. Phase 2 was the trust transfer. The house on Willow Lane, along with several other assets, would be transferred into an irrevocable trust, the August Foundation. Once that transfer was complete, there would be no reversing it. The property would belong to the foundation, and Vanessa would have zero legal claim to it. ID established the August Foundation 2 years ago. But I'd been planning for something like it much longer than that. The foundation's mission was simple: provide support and transitional housing for single fathers rebuilding their lives after divorce or separation. Men had been overlooked, dismissed, and financially devastated by a system that assumed mothers were always the primary caregivers and fathers were just walking wallets. Men like my own father had been. My dad, Augustus, raised me and my sister alone after our mother left when I was 7. She decided motherhood wasn't for her, that she needed to find herself, and so Shed walked out one Tuesday morning and never came back. No custody battle, no lengthy divorce proceedings. She just signed away her parental rights and disappeared. I watched my father work 3 jobs to keep us fed. Watched him fall asleep at the kitchen table with bills spread out in front of him, calculator in hand, dark circles under his eyes. I watched him skip meals so my sister and I could eat. And watched him age 10 years in the span of 2. And when he tried to ask for help from the state, from charities, from anyone, he'd be turned away. Resources are limited, they'd say. We prioritize women and children. As if he wasn't raising children. As if his struggle was somehow less valid because of his gender. He died of a heart attack when I was 19. The doctor said it was genetic, but I knew better. It was stress, it was exhaustion. And it was the slow, grinding weight of trying to do everything alone with no support system. I promised myself that if I ever had the resources, I'd create what my father never had, a safety net for men like him. The August Foundation was that promise fulfilled. And now, it would also serve another purpose: ensuring that Vanessa could never claim ID acted out of spite or cruelty. Because how do you argue that someone is punishing you when they're actively helping other people? How do you spin charitable giving as revenge? You can't. I finished my tea, rinsed the mug, and placed it in the dishwasher. Then I did something I almost never allowed myself to do. I opened a photo album on my phone. Not the shared cloud album Vanessa had access to, my private one. I scrolled through photos of us from the early days. Vanessa laughing at something ID said, eyes crinkled at the corners, genuinely happy. Me with my arm around her shoulders, both of us squinting into the sun. A selfie Shed taken of us in bed on a lazy Sunday morning, hair messy, smile soft and unguarded. There had been good moments, real moments, times when I believed we were building something together. But those moments had become fewer and further between over the years. Somewhere along the line, ID stopped being her partner and started being her ATM. Her photographer, her audience of one, applauding her performance while she took bow after bow. I closed the photo album and deleted it. No need to keep this anymore. Then I packed a bag, just the essentials: clothes, toiletries, my laptop, important documents. I'd been slowly moving things to my new apartment for weeks. One box at a time. Always when Vanessa was out with friends or at a yoga class. Shed stopped attending after the first month but kept paying for because she liked the idea of being someone who does yoga. By 11:30 p.m. I was ready. I looked around the office one last time. The office, really, since Vanessa never came in here. Too boring, Shed said. Too much like work. I turned off the lights and walked out of the house on Willow Lane for the last time. The next morning, Vanessa probably woke up around 10:40 a.m. I know her patterns. ID lived with them for 7 years. Shed have opened her eyes slowly, head pounding from too much wine, mouth dry and sour. The hotel room, or wherever Shed crashed with her friends after their big performance, would be too bright, with sunlight cutting through cheap curtains she forgot to close. Her phone would be somewhere on the floor, screen cracked maybe, battery at 11%. Shed check it out of habit, scroll through Instagram, and see the photos from last night. The group shot where everyone's holding their wine glasses up. The candid of her mid-laugh. And the story she posted with the caption, "Sometimes you just have to choose you." 43 likes, 12 comments. Yes, queen. Proud of you. You deserve better. Shed smiled to herself, still smug, still convinced Shed done something empowering. Then Shed tried to buy breakfast. I can picture it perfectly. She walks into that trendy cafe on 3rd Street, the one with the exposed brick and the overpriced avocado toast. She orders her usual, a truffle omelet. An oat milk latte, and maybe a side of those candied bacon strips she pretends to feel guilty about eating. The barista rings it up. 28. Vanessa taps her card. Declined. She frowns and taps it again. Sometimes the machine is glitchy. Declined. Sorry, the barista says, not making eye contact. Do you have another card? Vanessa laughs it off. Oh, weird. Yeah, hold on. She pulls out the backup card, the business one, and taps it. Declined. Now she's flustered. People are starting to notice, and the line behind her is getting impatient. A guy in a suit checks his watch pointedly. A woman with a yoga mat size. Her face flushes, not from wine this time, but from embarrassment. I don't understand, she stammers. These cards always work. The barista offers a thin, professional smile. No worries. Maybe call your bank? Vanessa steps aside, hands trembling slightly as she dials the customer service number on the back of the card. The automated voice asks her to enter her account number. She does. Then it asks her to verify her identity. We're sorry, but we cannot locate an active account under that information. She hangs up, tries the other card, and gets the same result. That's when it starts to sink in. That's when the smug smile from this morning begins to crack. She'd pull out her phone and try to check the bank account online. Password incorrect. She tries again. Account locked. She tries calling me. Straight to voicemail. Gabriel, standing beside her, would notice something's wrong. Hey, you okay? My cards aren't working, Vanessa would say, her voice tight. I don't understand. Maybe it's fraud protection, Gabriel would suggest. That happened to me once when I was traveling. But Vanessa wouldn't be traveling. She'd be 10 miles from home, and the sick feeling in her stomach would be telling her this wasn't fraud protection. This was something else. She'd call her mother, half laughing, still trying to make it sound like a minor inconvenience. Mom, something weird is happening. Mark's being dramatic about last night. Her mother, Patricia, wouldn't laugh. Patricia never liked me, thought I was too quiet, too emotionally unavailable, but she respected my precision. She knew I didn't do anything without a reason. I can hear Patricia's voice in my head, low and careful. What exactly did you say to him, Vanessa? It was just a joke. I told him it was over on speaker. The girls thought it was funny. Silence. Then, quiet and cold, you told him it was over on speaker? With witnesses? Mom, relax. He knows I wasn't serious. Then you better pray he thought so too. Patricia would remember things Vanessa had forgotten. Or more accurately, things Vanessa had never paid attention to in the first place. She'd remember me pulling her aside at the wedding reception, asking her politely but firmly to sign as a witness on the prenuptial agreement. She'd remember the look in my eye, not love-struck or nervous. Like most grooms, but focused and methodical. She'd sensed something then, something careful and guarded in me, but she dismissed it as pre-wedding jitters. Now she'd be putting the pieces together. And she'd be realizing that her daughter had just made a catastrophic mistake. Meanwhile, I was 2 hours away, sitting in my lawyer's office. Daniel Chin had been my attorney for 6 years, corporate law, estate planning, and the occasional contract dispute. He was efficient, discreet, expensive, but worth every dollar. His office was in one of those modern buildings downtown, all glass and steel, with furniture that cost more than most people's cars. It was the kind of place that immediately communicated seriousness and confidence. Everything's ready, he said, sliding a folder across his desk. The final authorization just needs your signature. I flipped through the pages. The trust documents were immaculate. The August Foundation, a nonprofit idea established 2 years ago to support single fathers, rebuilding their lives after divorce or separation, was about to receive its largest donation yet, 1 house, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, with an appraised value of $1.3 million. Once you sign, Daniel continued, adjusting his glasses, the transfer is immediate and irrevocable. The property will be titled to the foundation. ITLL be used as transitional housing for men in the program. We've already identified 3 candidates who could move in within the month. He showed me photos of the men who'd been selected. Jerome, a 42-year-old high school teacher, had lost his house in a divorce and was living in his sister's basement while trying to maintain custody of his 2 daughters. Raymond, a 36-year-old veteran who'd returned from deployment to find his ex-wife had cleaned out their accounts and moved across the country with their son. And Tyler, a 29-year-old graphic designer who was sleeping in his car while paying child support that left him with less than $300 for everything else. These were good men who'd played by the rules and gotten crushed anyway, men who deserved a second chance. "You're sure about this?" Daniel asked. Not because he doubted me, but because it was his job to ask. Once this is filed, there's no reversing it. The house is gone. Completely. I picked up the paint-a-heavy Mont Blanc that Daniel kept for signing important documents and I signed. My signature was steady, unhurried. I dated it, initialed each page, and slid the folder back across the desk. "I'll file this within the hour," Daniel said. "The transfer should be complete by close of business today. The locksmith is scheduled for 8 a.m. Correct?" "Already done," I said. "He finished at 9. Daniel nodded approvingly. "You've thought of everything." "I've had time to think." He leaned back in his chair. "Studying me with the kind of clinical interest a scientist might show a particularly fascinating specimen. If you don't mind me asking, and you're welcome to tell me it's none of my business, how long have you been planning this?" I considered the question. "Planning? About 11 months. But preparing? Probably since the day we got married." "That's a long time to live with that kind of uncertainty." "It was the only way to live with certainty," I replied. "Hope for the best, prepare for the worst." Daniel smiled slightly. It wasn't a happy smile, more like recognition. My divorce cost me $140,000 and 2 years of my life. I wish I'd had your foresight. By 11:15 a.m. The house deed had transferred legally, irrevocably, and permanently out of my name and into the foundation's. Vanessa's name had never been on it to begin with. Legally, she'd been a guest in my home for 7 years. A guesthood overstayed her welcome. At 1 p.m., the locksmith texted, "Job complete, new keys ready." By 3 p.m., the realtor I'd hired not to sell the house, but to document its condition for the foundation's records had uploaded listing photos to a secure server. Professional shots, staged furniture. Everything looked pristine, impersonal, and ready for its next chapter. The realtor, Catherine Wu, was a consummate professional who'd worked with nonprofits before. She understood that this wasn't about profit. It was about presentation. The foundation needed quality photos for their website, for grant applications, and for the press release I had planned. "Beautiful property," she'd said when she arrived that morning. "Your wife has excellent taste in interior design." "Thank you," I'd replied, not correcting her. Let her think Vanessa had contributed something. It didn't matter anymore. I didn't smile and I didn't celebrate. I just closed my laptop, packed a duffel bag with the essentials I'd already moved to my new apartment, and left. The apartment I'd rented was in a different part of the city. A modest 2-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood where nobody knew me and nobody cared about my business. It wasn't flashy, with no amenities beyond a basic gym and a laundry room, but it was mine, truly and completely mine. My name was on the lease, with my furniture and my rules. I'd been furnishing it slowly over the past few months. A couch from IKEA, a bed from Costco, and kitchen supplies from Target. Nothing expensive, nothing fancy, just functional, comfortable, and sufficient. It was everything the house on Willow Lane wasn't. That house had been a showcase, a stage set designed for Vanessa's performances. This apartment was a home, designed for living. That evening, my phone started buzzing. Voicemails, texts, and missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize flooded in. Vanessa's friends, probably, trying to piece together what was happening. The first text came from Gabriel. "Mark, what's going on? V says you locked her out?" Then Sophia. "This is really mature, Mark. Real classy." Then Alexis. She was joking. "You know that, right?" I didn't respond to any of them. They weren't owed an explanation. They'd been witnesses to Vanessa's cruelty, laughing along and encouraging it. They'd made their choice about whose side they were on. Now they could live with it. Instead, I forwarded a scheduled press release to a journalist I'd been cultivating for months, Amanda Torres from the City Tribune. She specialized in human interest story, the kind that made people feel good about their community. I'd met her at a charity event 6 months ago, and we'd stayed in touch. Nothing inappropriate, just professional networking. I'd mentioned my foundation work in passing, gauging her interest, and she'd been very interested. Now I sent her an exclusive. The story of the house donation, complete with professional photos, background on the August Foundation, and a carefully worded statement about the importance of supporting single fathers. Her response came within an hour. "This is exactly the kind of story we need right now. Can I run it tomorrow morning?" "Please do," I replied. At 9 a.m. the next morning, the article went live on the Tribune's website and social media. Local entrepreneur donates $1. 3 million home to Foundation for Single Fathers in Recovery. The piece was glowing. It talked about the August Foundation's mission, featured quotes from men who'd been through the program, and included statistics about how single fathers are overlooked in social services. And buried in the middle was a single line from me, provided anonymously through my lawyer: "Sometimes the quietest men leave the loudest lessons." Within an hour, the article had been shared 300 times. Within 2 hours, 1,000 local influencers were reposting it, calling it inspiring and beautiful. A city council member commented that she'd look into additional funding for similar programs. The narrative was set. I was the generous philanthropist, the quiet good guy making a difference. And Vanessa? Well, anyone who'd seen her post from 2 nights ago, the wine glasses, the celebration, the caption about choosing herself, could do the math. I didn't read the comments. I didn't need to. The message was out, the documentation was public, and the house was gone. Not sold, not leveraged, not hidden in some shell company given away to people who needed it. Vanessa couldn't fight charity. She couldn't spin this as me being cruel or vindictive. How do you argue against a man who donated his own home to help struggling fathers? You can't. Around 9:27 a.m. Patricia called Vanessa. I know this because Vanessa's neighbor, Mrs. Kowalski, an elderly woman who'd always been kind to me and considerably less warm to Vanessa, later told me that she'd heard screaming that morning. Not Vanessa screaming, but Patricia screaming through the phone, loud enough to be audible from the driveway. The house. Dear God, Vanessa, what did you just let him do to the house? Vanessa, standing in the driveway of that house, staring at the new locks she couldn't open, probably went pale. What are you talking about? He gave it away. It's all over the news. He donated the entire property to some foundation. That's not possible. He can't just, he can, and he did. Your name was never on the deed, Vanessa. You don't have a claim. You don't have standing. You don't have anything. I imagine Vanessa's knees buckled. I imagine she sat down right there on the front steps, the same steps where she'd filmed a dozen Instagram stories about home life and gratitude. But I live here, she whispered. No, Patricia said, her voice hard. You live there. Past tense. Mrs. Kowalski told me that Vanessa sat on those steps for almost 2 hours, staring at her phone, occasionally crying, and sometimes laughing in a way that sounded slightly unhinged. At one point, she tried to open the garage door using the remote in her car. It didn't work. ID had the codes changed along with everything else. Eventually, she got in her car and drove away. Mrs. Kowalski never saw her at the house again. By then, I was gone. My new place didn't have marble countertops or imported Italian tiles. No walk-in closets and no infinity pool. Just a small 2-bedroom apartment with a balcony that overlooked a park. The day after the press release went live, I drove to the animal shelter and adopted a Doga 3-year-old mixed breed named Chester, who'd been overlooked for months because he wasn't a puppy, wasn't a purebred, and wasn't Instagram worthy. He cost me $80, the best money I ever spent. We sat on my porch, me plain, unremarkable porch, and I scratched behind his ears while he leaned against my leg, completely content. No drama, no performance, no audience, just peace. Vanessa didn't believe it at first. Even standing in front of the house with new locks glinting in the morning sun. Even with her mother's frantic voice still echoing in her ears. Some part of her brain refused to accept that this was real. Mark was Mark, boring, predictable Mark. The man who color-coded his file folders and set reminders for oil changes. The man who asked if she needed anything from the grocery store and never complained when she spent $200 on a purse. Mark didn't do things like this. Mark didn't have it in him. She tried her key one more time, jamming it into the lock with enough force to scratch the brass. It didn't turn. Of course it didn't turn. The lock was new. The locksmith had probably finished his work hours ago while she was still sleeping off her performance. This is insane, she muttered, pulling out her phone. Her hands were shaking now, not from cold, but from something else, something that felt uncomfortably like fear. She called me. Straight to voicemail. She called again. Same result. She tried texting. Mark, seriously, what is this? Call me back. The message showed as delivered but not read. ID turned off read receipts months ago, another small preparation she'd never noticed. Then her phone started buzzing with notifications from Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. People were tagging her, lots of people. She opened Instagram first, and there it was, pinned at the top of her feed. The article from the Tribune. Shared by someone she went to college with. Then someone from her yoga class, then one of the local mom bloggers she followed. It featured the same photo of the house she'd posted 100 times, but now the caption wasn't about her morning routine or her gratitude practice.